Okay, then it's time to say hello to everyone and welcome to our webinar, which is called Towards a Framework and Rating System for Sustainable Interiors. And my name is Torsten Hill, and I will be moderating this talk. And today we will take part of a presentation and explanation of the development project Hållbar interiör, or Sustainable Interiors in English. And along with me around this imagined table here that we have, you'll find three persons who all are involved in the project. And could you please present yourselves and briefly explain how you are connected to the project? Let's start with Christine.
Yes, hello. My name is Christine Östberg and I am an interior architect with many things going on other than working with interiors. For example, I run the architectural firm Indicum and also the webpage inredningsarkitektur.se. But above all, I work a large part of my time with this project, Hållbar interiör, as a project manager. And I also initiated this project that is funded by Vinnova. That's me.
Thank you, Christine. And Derek?
Hello, my name is Derek Diener. I work as a researcher at the Research Institute RISE in a group called Sustainable Business. I have a background in life cycle management, which means basically measuring environmental impacts and finding ways to reduce them. In this project, my colleagues and I work on defining criteria for Hållbar interiör.
Thank you, Derek. And Fanny?
Yeah, hi, my name is Fanny Frey and I work as a product manager at GLL. We help our clients in the commercial sector with both relocation and reconstruction projects. And as a part of our project, we also manage interior and design. And we are a proud partner to Hållbar interiör, and our purpose in this project is to provide a tenant and market perspective.
Thank you, Fanny. And my name is Torsten Hill, as I said before, and I'm an interior architect and professor in furniture design at Campus Steneby at the University of Gothenburg. And I'm really excited to hear what you can tell us about Hållbar interiör. And I will soon present you to my questions, but first I'd like to explain how this talk will work. It will take approximately 1 hour. We will touch on 3 topics and several questions related to each of them. And in between every topic, there will be telegrams presented with the complimentary comments to the talk. And if you as participant would like to ask questions, please use the chat function, and you find it at the top of your screen. And we will try to get back later in this talk to your questions. But now let's start up the talk, and we begin with the first topic, which is called Criteria and the Methods for Measurements, how to assess the sustainability of an interior. Hållbar interiör, or sustainable interior, have 2 goals: creating a certification for measuring the environmental impact of an interior, and also a digital tool for making sustainable choices in interior-related processes. Compared to buildings, it might seem as if this was of less importance. Perhaps that's one reason why there are no certification for interiors, while one finds several for buildings and individual products. But the impact of all the products used and consumed in building interiors is actually significant. Every year, we discard approximately 500,000 tons of office furniture in Sweden without recycling or reusing. It adds up to approximately 150,000 tons of CO2 equivalents per year, only from office furniture in Sweden. By creating a certification for the branch, there could be much to gain, and a consortium including representatives of the branch has been organized for the development project Hållbar interiör. And I'd like to turn to you first, Christine Östberg, the originator of Hållbar interiör. Why did you start the project?
Well, as I said before, I work as an interior architect, and in my work, I have noticed for a long time, several years, that there is a lack of tools to help me and my colleagues to make the right choices in our daily work. We also noticed that our customers who wanted to act sustainably did not know how to act. And also the fact that interior architects are responsible for a large amount of furniture in our profession, and our actions have major consequences for the environment. The choice we make in large interior design projects becomes very important. Should we, for example, recommend our customer to reuse the desks they already have, or to buy new ones? So when it comes to sometimes 1,000, 2,000 tables, you can easily calculate that our actions then will have consequences for the climate and the environment. So I started the project to get help with acting in a sustainable way in my work as an interior architect, but also with the ambition to influence the entire industry and my colleagues to reduce the environmental and climate impact. We all know that we are in a hurry and that we must act now. And therefore this project has a high priority for me and is also run at as high speed as possible. So that is shortly why I started the project. And to say something short about the project, this is about two things. Partly to reduce the climate impact through a certification of the interior, and partly to develop a digital tool that can help us make the right choices linked to the climate impact from the interior. And I also want to say that a certification is valuable. It gives an obvious value to a property owner and an architect, etc. But we in this project are not doing just a certification. We think that just to help people go in the right direction is valuable, and the tool will help with that. For example, tenants can receive support to work with the premises, and they can get help to see how they are doing on the sustainability scale, even without choosing a certification. So this is shortly why I started the project and what it is about.
Oh, thank you, Christine. Okay, that's a great answer. But I'm thinking you're a professional interior architect working with the planning of public spaces. How do you, as part in the interior branch, act ecological and reduce the environmental impact in projects?
Yeah, me in matter of this project, this is the project's most important issue. How do we reduce the environmental impact? And we soon realized that we needed help with this issue from researchers because it's very complex. One thing, if you think about reducing the impact, is how do we define sustainability in our project? Is it about economic, social, environmental, or climate sustainability? The goal of the project has always been to work towards the global goal number 12, which is about responsible consumption and production. So the impact from consumption and production on the environment became our definition of sustainability. And in this project, the impact related to interiors in some way. And then you can ask, what is an interior? That's another issue that we have been defined. Is it walls, the floor, or computers, furniture, etc.? And we have defined the interior in this project as everything that a tenant can influence and be responsible for in their premises. So we started out by defining these two parts and then continue to work together with researchers from RISE on these two issues. The goal of the work that RISE is doing is to define criteria and measures in Hållbar interiör. And a co-condition that was important in the beginning of the project was that all criteria would be easy to report with the information that is available on the market in Sweden today. For example, you cannot let EPDs place an important part because it's not available for all furniture and so on. Yeah, so that's briefly how we're trying to reduce the impact on the environment in this project.
Thank you, Christine. And you mentioned RISE, Research Institute Sweden, and they are involved in many research and development projects, and among them also interior-related ones. Derek, as a researcher at RISE, can you describe your approach and way of working?
Yes, gladly. In general, my colleagues and I at Sustainable Business work with firms that want to transition to so-called circular economy principles. We also often do projects focused on this transition from linear-based business to circular type of business. In that process, we take principles from science and we present them to these partners and we try to help them learn. At the same time, they're trying to apply these principles in real life, in real settings with real products. And that's kind of along the way, we identify small steps for them to take, and we learn along the way and use that to kind of inform or create knowledge related to change processes. And that's it's kind of a similar way of working here. We have a consortium that's very well-rounded, represents a broad spectrum of different actors in the ecosystem. And what we want to do is take scientifically based principles and try to apply them to reality. But we have to ground these with actors, with manufacturers and remanufacturers and interior designers. We have to ground these with the actors that are actually in the system. So we have to find a reasonable, applicable list of criteria and logic. As Christine mentioned, we started off knowing when we were scoping sustainability, we knew that we were working with the Sustainable Development Goal, responsible production and consumption. And that's very well motivated because we know that from the outset that the known problem in this market, this sector, and probably in our economy as a whole, is the environmental impact and excessive waste that's generated from our dispose first way of working, in particular in moving and renovation. So we took those principles and some other grounded principles. We know what kind of behaviors, some types of behaviors that can lead to sustainable outcomes. We took those. We looked at other certifications like LEED and Svanen and other product-focused certifications. And then we worked with the consortium. We created work groups, gave them assignments like to focus on questions like what are the boundaries of interior, something that Christine mentioned. Also, what is circular design, and what type of criteria would actually define circular design for a furniture or for an interior? And from this input, we from the consortium and from our theoretical background, we have created a logic and a list of criteria that we think can be applicable in real life. And now it's to be tested in real interior spaces and real interior design projects.
Okay, so I understand there are numerous qualities, aspects, and parts in an interior. But what would you say, what are the most important categories for measuring sustainability of an interior?
Well, we start off with two focus principles. We know there's a lot of waste, but we know that climate change is the most pressing impact in our society right now. We would, in an ideal world, be able to calculate exact amounts of CO2 of every activity and every product we ever touch and purchase and use. That is not currently possible. We don't have the information. We don't have the data on every particular product. There's not LCAs for every product. As Christine mentioned, EPDs or environmental product declarations don't exist for everything. So what we have to do instead, and not to mention it's very tedious and takes a long time to do a proper LCA, life cycle assessment. So what we do instead of actually calculating environmental impact is we identify factors that are correlated with sustainable outcomes and lower environmental impact. In practice, the simplest thing we could say is that this means mostly criteria that promote and reward long-time utilization of furniture and interior building elements like inner walls and doors, as well as flooring and ceilings. We want those to be used for a long time because they don't use much energy during use, or they don't use energy during use. And so if the longer we keep them in use, the more we spread out the environmental impact it takes to produce them. So it's a simple principle. There are practices we know make sustainable outcomes more likely. Different ways of procurement, operations, and maintenance, putting things in place will probably reduce mitigate waste. So with logic that both addresses these physical interiors and these practices, we think such a certification can drive changes in behavior and change real outcomes in the way interiors are remodeled, furnished or refurnished, and operated.
Okay, thank you, Derek. But I return to Christine. What would you say? I think you touched on this before, Christine, but what have you decided to include when you measure the environmental impact of an interior in Hållbar interiör?
Yes, as I said before, we have defined it like everything that a tenant can influence, that must be included. This is the largest delimitation in general in the project. And then when it comes to products and furniture and things like that, we limit ourselves for against decoration, consumables, and electronics. Okay. So that is briefly.
Yeah, sounds reasonable. And thank you, Christine and Derek, for describing how to measure the impact of interiors. And now the time has come for our first telegram, and it's from Maria Åhlén from Sweden Green Building Council.
At Sweden Green Building Council, we have years of experience creating and running certification systems for sustainable buildings and cities. Hållbar interiör asked us to cooperate with them in this project in order to use and gain from the knowledge we have about certifications. And there are some key factors the project will have in mind when building a certification system. Number one, you need to make sure that the chosen criteria aim at the lowest hanging fruit, where you can do the most difference in the building in terms of sustainability. And not only do you want to make the biggest difference, you want to do it with the least amount of effort. If it's too complicated or requires too much, not many will use the certification, and the certification system only has an impact when it's used by many. Based on that, you choose your criteria. Number 2, the chosen criteria also needs to be backed by scientific evidence. It's not enough assuming or believing that it will make a difference for sustainability. There must be scientific proof. Number 3, and when there's proof, there's usually also a measurability. You can have a certification where there are gray zones in regards to the criteria. A certification will be fair and predictable when the criteria are measurable or easily evaluated in terms of whether or not the criteria is met. A predictability in regards to the end result is important for the user. Users of a certification usually don't like to certify if they don't know what level or grade they will be able to meet in the end. These were our top 3 key factors for a certification system. We hope the outcome of this project will give guidance and a certification that will help towards a sustainable built environment.
Thank you, Maria. And now I turn to the panel again. It's of course vital that the certification will be really comprehensible and easy to use, but isn't there a challenge in the balance between the practical usefulness and the scientific validity? What do you say?
Well, Derek, what do you say? You're the researchers here.
Yeah, definitely a challenge. As I said, it's both limited by the information that people have available to them and the amount of effort they want to make. So what we're trying to do is create rules, norms that are just good enough to pull and push people towards a little bit further, a little bit more sustainable. And over time, we can change those and make them turn up the dial a little bit. But that's what we're trying to do. And I think with this consortium, we're able to create a pretty good list that can be used according to real practitioners.
Oh, great. Thank you, Derek. And this actually gives us like a straight path to the next topic we have. And this is called Balancing Theory with Pragmatism, Challenges Related to Assessing Projects, about circular design and long product lives. An attractive quality of interiors seems to be the newness. We can see numerous new interiors in new buildings as well as refurbished interiors. And almost every time the concept is built on new products. This is a strongly linear way of planning interiors, where you dispose the existing products and replace them with new ones, even if they are still usable. It's easy to see how this leads to an overexploitation of resources in a faster pace than nature can produce them. It seems as if we have to plan for much more long-lived products in a circular process to bring balance to the industry. And now I turn to Christine again. What would you say? Which are the biggest challenges to achieve long-lived products?
Yes, one of our challenges in this project in general and more specifically with long-lived products is related to common norms in interior design. It is common in Sweden and all over the world, I think, to replace furniture and entire interiors that are still fully functional and sometimes completely new. When an office is moving to a new place, they don't want to have the former tenant's interior and old furniture. So the normal procedure is to replace them. Another thing is that everyone in this field is used to work in a way that is based on throwing out and buying new things. And that makes it much easier to continue working in that way. For example, when rebuilding an office, it is easier to buy new glass sections than to use the ones you already have and adapt them. Or take furniture as an example. In a regular interior design project, it takes time to inventory and to document existing furniture, assess what to be repaired, and then renovate the furniture, instead of just deciding which new furniture to buy and then order them. So all working methods are based on buying new items and new products. So that's one challenge, and another challenge that we have is a financial one, with reused furniture. It costs about as much today to furnish an office or a room with existing furniture as to buy new furniture, if you want to renovate the old furniture, of course. So that's a problem for us also, to convince our customers to have reused instead of new furniture. And we also have another challenge with procurement of recycled furniture. For example, it's difficult to describe how to order recycled furniture, and warranty times are not that long, and then often there is a lack of product information. Yeah, so these are some issues that we have with long-lived project and reused project in the project.
Thank you, Christine. But then, in a way, it sounds like the problem isn't so hard to solve. We just start reusing and recycle things and get out of the loop of overconsumption. But of course, that makes you wonder, is it that simple? Is reuse and recycle always the best way forward? What do you say, Derek, from a researcher's perspective?
Well, always no, but as a general rule, and I think the one we should follow almost all the time is yes. It is generally agreed that at the macro level or at the economy level, that we have to reduce the amount of total material throughput. We dig up and cut down and suck up so many resources, and they go through the society pretty fast right now. We want to slow that down. If we can deliver the same amount of utility or function with less material throughput and less material and environmental impact, then we're succeeding. Of course, there are limits to what we can do at the micro level. We operating as individuals, individual firms, individual value chains. But really, the use longer, reuse more is a very solid rule of thumb for reducing environmental impact of products, and it's backed up by life cycle assessments. Furniture and other interiors don't use energy during their use, and so the longer we keep them in use, the more we spread out environmental impact it took to produce them. There are some exceptions to the reuse is best rule. For example, there may be some toxic substances in some real old furniture. That is a kind of a rare outcome, I think. And also maybe because the systems aren't greatly developed for remanufacturing and reverse logistics to get the furniture to the remanufacturer or refurbisher, maybe the transportation impacts are higher in some case than for new. But that's because that brings us back to what Christine was talking about, which is the norms and what the rules we're living under now. It's a discard first society. So everything, all of us are operating, and most firms are operating based on these principles of discard first. And so we have a lot of learning, so-called learning to do, not just us learning what sustainability is, but learning as in changing processes, changing, developing effective logistics, developing effective remanufacturing processes, developing even the processes of sitting at a desk and knowing where to go to find reused or refurbished services, which, as Christine says, the current way, we know how to get to a website and just click 100 chairs buy. We are we're not, it's hard to find these other alternatives. So hopefully with this this certification, we can establish a new set of norms that some will start to observe, and that's how we change the system.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Derek. And now we have talked about the producers and the interior architects, but how about the users, the tenants? What can they do? Are there any tools to support them in their change towards a sustainable approach to interiors today? Fanny, you haven't been brought in this conversation yet, but now, from your perspective as a project manager, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, we have seen a development the last years where our clients focus more on sustainability. But as Christine said, there has been a lack of a tool when it comes to interior. It has even been hard to answer the question, what is a sustainable interior at scale? So how would the tenants know how to act? Decisions regarding interior has therefore primarily been made with consideration to 3 factors: budget, time, and quality. So this new tool and certification will help us bring facts and knowledge regarding sustainable interior and also make it measurable. And that means it will now be easier for our clients to make conscious decisions. And we believe this will help us make sustainability a 4th factor in our clients' decisions. And as a factor in decision making, this will hopefully also influence our clients' goals and make them prioritize sustainability in real estate projects. And I also want to add that this tool follows our clients through the whole process, from the inventory early in a project, during the procurement, but also when we as project managers leave a project and our clients themselves need to handle and manage these interiors for years.
Okay, thank you. But what do you say then, Fanny? And how can we challenge and motivate the tenants to make more sustainable choices and start thinking in a circular way when it comes to their interiors?
That is the hard question to answer, but we need to change the behavior. And this tool and certification clarifies scenarios and provides facts. And as I previously said, this will help us make sustainability a 4th factor in our client decisions. By asking the right questions and by showing fact-based pros and cons for different alternatives, we will make it easier for our clients to act sustainably when it comes to interior. And this is also very important when it comes to communication, both internal and external communication. We all know that expectations on companies' sustainability work has grown. For example, we could see in GLL's latest Nordic research regarding worker preference that the criteria sustainable workplaces has climbed from a 6th place to a 3rd place. So the employees value sustainability higher now and also has higher expectations on their employer. So this tool will enable our clients to communicate pure facts regarding how they work with sustainable interior. And we think this will both challenge and attract tenants to use this tool and certification, and by that also think more circular.
That's very interesting. Thank you, Fanny. And now, listening to the 3 of you, there seem to be things that can be improved and that is actually on the go. But what would you say, Christine? What is the most important innovation in Hållbar interiör?
Yes, I think the most innovative part is that we develop a measure of sustainability connected to interiors. A certification is usually yes or no, but we produce a more precise measure. For example, your Hållbar interiör score could be 85%. And the measure shows how sustainable your interior is at a certain point in time. And it hopefully leads a will to do right and to improve the score. So that's one thing. And another thing is, another innovative part is that we simplify the whole thing. we try to give an indication by lifting the important parts very early in a project, when you only have very little information, to take the right path early in a changing process. We know that if you make the right decision early in a project, it will be less expensive and less difficult compared to later in a project. So I think those two things are maybe the most innovative parts in this project.
Thank you, Christine. And now it's time for another telegram. This is from Amy Johnson, procurement manager at Malmö Stad.
Hello, I'm Amy from the city of Malmö. We believe that sustainability is important, and in our work we have come a long way in the development of sustainable and environmentally conscious procurement practices. Partnering with Hållbar interiör is a great opportunity and feels like the next step for us towards our sustainability goals. A tool that actually shows the environmental consequences of different alternatives for our buyers. We are currently promoting sustainable and circular products in our e-commerce platform with a thumbs up icon to help our buyers to identify these products and to make sustainable choices. With this tool, we hope to be able to show in a clear and simple way the environmental impact of our purchasing decisions. Through our engagement in Hållbar interiör, we want to ensure that circular business models and circular design principles are promoted and hope that the result will be a beneficial tool for our organization in the future.
Very interesting, Amy, and thank you for your comment. It's obvious that there is a will to act sustainable when it comes to interiors, but there is also a need for guidance and support in how to make relevant choices. But why isn't there a standard or a certification already there? What do you say? I turn to the whole panel. Christine, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. So one thing that comes in mind for me as an interior architect is the status of interior design issues. If you compare with building related issues, they are higher on the agenda and have a higher status in generally. So that problem in itself has to do with gender, I think. So building issues are driven by men. The industry is dominated by men, and vice versa applies to interior issues. So I think that's one reason why there isn't already a certification, because it should be already.
Yes, one could think so, really. Thank you. And now let's engage in our last topic with focus on the future of a certification of sustainable interiors. And this topic is called Why a Certification and What are the Potential Effects from it? From a sustainable perspective, the certification of interiors sounds like a good way to go, but to establish it on the market, it also have to meet other needs and expectations. In the future, how do you see that the certification impacts the real estate business on a general level? Could it enhance the business, contribute to better financial results? Are there other important values it could generate? I would like to turn to Fanny first and ask you what effects could you see on the real estate business from a certification of interiors?
Yeah, we can see that green and certified properties has almost become like a hygiene factor in the market, especially with new builds. There is a higher demand for premises that has a sustainable and flexible design. And there, for example, a green building with dimensions that allows a flexible usage, like a building with a more depth in the floor plan, a pillar structure, and natural materials, are easier to adapt to a tenant's requirements, and therefore also a more attractive option for our clients. And we will most likely see the same effect for the interior industry as in the real estate business. As soon as a certification makes interior measurable, there will be a higher demand for suppliers and designers that deliver a sustainable interior solution. In our projects, we have several parties working with design and interior. We have the landlord, the tenant themselves, architects, suppliers, and a certification will also make it easier for all these parties to reach toward the same goals and also to act more sustainable.
Thank you, Fanny. And if we from that position zoom in a bit, what positive effects can Hållbar interiör have for interior architects, who has a key role when it comes to choices of products? Then I turn to Christine.
Yes, I believe that Hållbar interiör will influence all the areas connected to interiors, because we now have a way to measure and score. That in turn will lead to an increased status of the interior and interior issues. And that in turn will lead to a profession, that has long had a low status in the construction industry in Sweden, being given a higher status. So that's what I hope will be the outcome for interior architects.
Interesting, thank you. And now let's listen to the last of the telegrams. This is from Ivana Kilsgård, Director of Sustainability and Quality at Tengbom Architect Firm.
Hi, my name is Ivana Kilsgård. I'm an architect and Director of Sustainability and Quality at Tengbom. Tengbom is the oldest and one of the biggest architectural offices in Scandinavia. We work with a large range of projects, from city planning, house design, to interior and product design. I also worked as chairwoman for the 100 group. We assemble different actors from the interior industry and have a common goal to achieve 100% sustainable and circular interiors by 2030. We are facing huge challenges today, environmental and climate. And in order to achieve our climate goals, both the public sector, the private sector, and individuals have to move towards climate neutral solutions to transform their businesses, lifestyles, and way of working. Now, in the building sector, for many years, environmental certification systems have proven to be a very good tool to move the industry to being more environmentally friendly and climate friendly. In the interior industry, we lack such tools today. Sustainable interiors is actually a great tool that can help businesses take responsibility from the climate impact of their own operations, especially when it comes to adapting their office space. It can help engage all actors in the interior project. It can help make decision making, creating goals and ambitions for the project, but it can also help in verifying the results. Hopefully, the businesses will use the information and the results to climate compensate for their emissions. But above all, I strongly believe that sustainable interiors will help raise awareness and knowledge, but also drive innovation in developing new products, business solutions, business models, but even contribute in getting new actors in the interior industry. Tengbom is a partner of the project because we truly believe that this is a tool that can help us in our projects and also our clients to be more climate conscious when it comes to interior design. Thank you.
Thank you, and really inspiring, Ivana. And now again to the panel. Ivana mentions that a certification can push a development for the whole interior industry. For example, new actors. What new entrepreneurs could you see develop by an efficient certification? Fanny, what do you say?
Yeah, I think we will see new actors that deliver a sustainable interior solution, both architects and furniture suppliers. But we have also discussed reuse a lot earlier in this panel, and most likely the second market will expand when we get a higher demand for reused furniture. So hopefully we will also see new actors with innovative solutions in refurbishing existing furniture, and also who makes it easier to trade them, as Christine was talking about earlier.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with Fanny, and I just want to add that I also think that it will be a new discipline in furniture design to design furniture that has many uses and can easily be adapted in different ways and different ways to use. So I think that will be I mean, people are working with that now, but I think that will expand and be a more bigger discipline in the future.
Thank you for interesting comments there. And thank you, Fanny, Derek, and Christine. Are there any other conclusions you would like to bring in before we get to the end of our webinar? But please keep it brief.
Well, I just want to encourage everyone that has been listening to think of their own premises and how they are acting there, and also to follow the project and go to the web page and follow the project.
Yes.
So
thank you, Christine. And I can also, I checked the chat here, but I find no questions there right now. But yes, there is. Is the project finalized, or when will it be ready?
Yes, that's a good question. It will be finalized this summer, actually, a little bit earlier than we planned for the beginning. So the project has, as I said in the beginning, been running in a quite high speed. So we are actually finishing the project half a year earlier this summer.
Great. We're looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's very exciting.
We hope for a continuation. Is that correct, Christine?
Yes, of course. Yeah. We are finishing this part.
Yeah.
It is funded, as I said, by Vinnova in this utmaningsdriven innovation step number 2, and we are finalizing step number 2 this summer, and hopefully we will see continuing after that in step number 3.
Of course, one could imagine that it's one thing to just first formulate this, get it on a track, but then of course it's like a development process through probably continuous work.
Yes.
Depending on what's happening in the society also.
Yes.
We have the field testing kind of ongoing right now. So there we sent out the list of criteria and the logic, and have different actors out there trying to apply the criteria or assess them to see, are these reasonable? Would we be able to answer these questions with reasonable amount of resources? And so that's ongoing right now. But we in this tool, I think, will be great, because you can there is an idea that you will be able to kind of play around with different answers and get an indication of how well your interior is suited towards Hållbar interiör. So you can and I've been doing it at home with the criteria, just kind of thinking about, would I be able to certify my home? And that, I think the tool will offer something like that. And as Fanny was indicating, a lot of people, or those that might want to certify themselves or their locations, they kind of want to know before they do all the work. They kind of want to know, do we have a good chance at getting this? So that's it. I think the tool, which we haven't focused too much on, it will be very visually appealing and very usable as well. So I think it's an exciting step.
Yeah, and actually, we call it a teaser, like the first part of the tool that is like that indicates where you're going in the project or in where you are in your premises, will be released quite soon. So I think in 1 month, 2 months or so. So you can look for that and try and have your own indication by using this first part of the tool.
Interesting, very interesting, and makes it even more exciting to look forward to. And I think also, as you said, Christine, even now we have had a few questions here we brought up. But if you have other questions or ideas around this, of course, as Christine said, please visit the website. And also, this is the last day of Sweden Innovation Days, but please also visit the Hållbar Interiörs booth in this digital event. And now I'd like to say thank you to Christine, Derek, and Fanny, and thank you everyone who's been participating in our webinar. And we hope to meet you again in a near sustainable future. So please take care. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.